please welcome Rhonda. Good morning. I don't hear any good morning. Is everybody awake? Did you have your coffee? All right, let's try again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. It is definitely my passion, and some of my team just walked in. Career Tech Ed, as you know, as Career Tech Ed educators, it's been a battle for a long time, hasn't it? So we fight for our funding, we fight for our FTEs. We keep trying to get the superintendents and boards to realize that there's an and between college and career, that every one of our students must be ready for a career, because there's no such thing as a career called college unless you're the 2% that become professors. So it has been my lifelong ambition, and actually many years ago when I was a vice principal, did anybody here remember the School to Work federal grant? And it was called School to Career here in California. So I was fortunate to land one of those grants for the district I worked in, and that was back in the late 1990s and early 2000s. And we were trying at that point to have career pathways from kindergarten to 12th grade. And here we are again, trying to do the same thing. So those of you that have been in education as long as I have know that the battle continues. And we just stay strong, and we keep relating the message that all of our children, all of our youth, they are the future of tomorrow. And if we don't have workforce development, if we don't have successful manufacturing careers, we're going to be back to walking on the streets because we won't have anything to drive. We won't be able to fly. There won't be any technology because we are not growing the future of tomorrow. So I applaud all of you. I'm so glad you're here. And if it helps to know that there are those of us at the county office and state level that believe strongly in what you do, I definitely believe in it. And we do have 4 to 6 times a year people from every county throughout the state come together here, and we talk about career pathways. We're called the California County Superintendent Educational Service Association, Curriculum Instruction Steering Committee, Career Tech Ed. It's a big name, Success Assist CTE. What we do is we promote. All of us went down last month to the Capitol, and we were in the chamber fighting for the $500 million ongoing CTE money. So that's kind of the stuff we're doing, is trying to get that money needed so it can continue. So have a wonderful day, and thank you for letting me welcome you.
Thank you, Rhonda. And I just want to say thank you to YOLO County Offices of Education that allowed us to use this room and bring this workshop into this area, that it's a little bit closer to other schools in this region 1 area. That, and I just want to say that Jesse Ortiz, the superintendent, fully welcomed and allowed us to have this facility for free. Okay, that's always good. Okay, our one of our key speakers and presenters is Chris McHugh. Come on up, Chris. He works in the business management department at Haas. Right, and over 15 years working there?
20 years.
Okay, so I'm going to give it over to him, and he has a great presentation for him, and go ahead and get set up. All
right, welcome everyone.
Do I need to use the microphone?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're recording, dude.
Okay, all right. So we'll get the presentation up to page 1. There we go. Lighting okay? Can you see? If we can we turn the front lights?
Yeah, we can do that.
Just so we can see the presentation. Much better. Okay, you guys look better that way too. I'm sure I do. Okay, so what we'll do today is, if we can go to slide 2. Okay, so first slide here is just a roadmap of what it is that we're going to go through today. First is I'll give an introduction to myself, then I'll walk through who Haas Automation is. Haas Automation is the powertrain behind the HTEC network, so it's very important that at least we get a chance to see what who Haas Automation is, what it is that Haas Automation makes. And the last point I put up there is, what is HTEC and why is it that you should join in with our network? All right. So as Veronica introduced me, I'm Chris McHugh. My title is Business Manager of HTEC. And HTEC, the acronym stands for Haas Technical Education Center. It is a long bunch of words that basically says we support education and support CTE. I oversee the global entity of HTEC, but my primary function is in the U.S. HTEC active in the U.S., active in Europe, and active in China, as well as a handful of what I would call rest of world countries. Rest of world countries, countries like Malaysia, countries like New Zealand, countries like Australia, countries like Mexico. I've got presence of HTEC in all of those places. A little bit about myself. I am a Cal Poly San Luis Obispo grad. So anybody that's a Cal Poly guy, that's great. I spent a lot of time there. Probably longer than I should have, but got multiple degrees from Cal Poly. And one thing that Cal Poly really taught me was hands-on, practical application. There was lots of conceptual lab discussions and lots of homework and lots of studying, but where I really learned my craft was in the labs. I went from Cal Poly to running machine shops in Santa Barbara, California. Did a lot of procurement, did a lot of quality. Went and worked my way all the way through small shops and large shops. Ended up at Martin Marietta as a program manager for the Orlando facility, everything for nav air. So I did that for 15 years. And after I got done with that, I got into another machine shop oriented job with Emerson Electronics, left Emerson and joined Haas Automation. So I have a lot of machining background, a lot of engineering background, as does anyone at Haas Automation. It's the smartest group of people I've ever worked with. So I'll say that for both Gene Haas as well as the engineering staff at Haas. So as I noted, let's do a little history of Haas so that we can see who it is that's the powertrain behind HTEC. And I think that's important so that everybody understands what the backbone is to support the HTEC network and also the Haas machines. Gene Haas started the company back in 1983. Gene's a very regular guy. For any of you that have ever met Mr. Haas, he'd fit right in with a group like this. I don't think he owns a suit. Never seen him in a suit. Funny story with Mr. Haas is, I was in India one time and we were doing a presentation and for an opening, and Gene asked if he could borrow a quarter because he needed to use the restroom. Fortunately, we had a quarter. Really great guy, super smart, but very, very normal guy. 1987, Gene had gone through a variety of issues from 83 to 87 in inventing products. In 1987, he developed the very first milling machine, and I'll show a short story on that. We showed that machine in 1988 IMTS, listed it at $49,000. That's Brett. You can answer that, Brett, if you want. It showed it for $49,995, and we came back with 50 orders. We didn't really know how it was going to go over, but it went very well. That was competitive back in '88 with the Taiwanese and the offshore machines. You might remember Vidal and some of the other machines. Those were going at about 75 or 80. So Gene was able to show that we could make X, Y, and Z in an industry standard machine at a very competitive price, and we continue to believe that today. We are the largest machine tool builder in the Western world. By units, by volume, we sell more machines than anyone. We sell about 14,000 machines every year. 1,200 machines a month come off of our factory floor. We just celebrated our 30-year anniversary, going from 88 to 2018. And the Haas product is 100% made in America. Everything is made in Oxnard, California. As I was explaining to a couple gentlemen, really the only product in the machine that's not American made is the linear motion equipment, and the linear motion being the ball screws in X, Y, and Z, spindle motors and servo motors are all Japanese or German. The castings are all machined and finish painted at Haas Automation. They come from a variety of different countries. China is a great place to buy castings. The iron ore is very pure, so carbon content is lower from the Chinese. Primarily we get that out of Tianjin, China, which is up in the upper northeast section of China. So I'm going to show you a little YouTube video that we did a time compression of Haas Automation. It's only 2 minutes long. It'll show the early days and up through who we are today.
Factory Facts, presented by Haas Automation. Located in Southern California, Haas Automation's custom-built 1 million square foot facility serves as the central hub of our design and manufacturing processes. More than 95% of the components inside of a Haas CNC machine are made in our very own 283,000 square foot in-house machine shop, where we produce more than 2 million parts every year. In order to maintain the absolute highest levels of quality, we put more than 200 Haas CNC machines to work for us, right in our very own machine shop. At our Southern California headquarters, Haas consumes upwards of 136 million pounds of raw materials each year. rock solid, lights out 24/7 production capabilities to keep up with demand. For example, today Haas Automation uses 23 robotic cells and flexible manufacturing systems ranging from 6 to 143 pallets. Our largest FMS incorporates 5 machines, 143 pallets, and 1,650 tools. At Haas, we maintain our own extensive inventory space, where we stock every nut, bolt, component, and panel needed to build a Haas machine, and track each one as it makes its way from the receiving dock to the factory floor. Our state-of-the-art 210,000 square foot inventory facility, where more than 600,000 individual parts, assemblies, and sub-assemblies are logged, stored, and distributed throughout our factory. Highly trained teams for electrical and mechanical assembly allow Haas to control quality, cost, reliability, and availability. The resulting savings and increased quality are passed on to the customer in the form of lower prices and better products.
All right, pretty exciting actually. If any of you would like to come down and get a tour, I'll personally give you a tour of the factory, take you places that nobody else goes to in the back halls of the factory. You can see it. It's really a great place. You draw a drop when you see this factory. Thank you. So now that we've got the Haas story behind us, we're ready to jump into the HTEC story. Again, I think it's important to recognize with Haas is that it is an American-made product. It's right here in California. The technical staff, the application support, the service support is right in Oxnard, California. And I would be 100% supportive of any CTE instructor to have a relationship personally with me so that I can navigate you through whatever problems you've got. So that's certainly an offer to anybody that's in this room today. So why Haas? Why join HTEC? All the machines are made in California. We build over 14,000 machines a year. That's 1,200 machines a month. We just upped the schedule to 1,400 machines per month. That'll start in September, and that'll push us up to around 15,000 machines per year, and that's what we're shooting for by the end of 2019. We control about 50% of the market, depending on if you look at what the machines are, milling machines, lathe machines, horizontals, and where in the country. But we're clearly number one in the U.S. That'll become very clear to you when we go through HTEC and why that's important to team with Haas. So let's get into education and how we support. Very first issue is we offer very deep discounts to education. It's not a profit center for Haas Automation. We are in business, but it's a loss leader for us to support in education. We see that as a long-term commitment. It's part of Gene's philosophy to support education. Free 2-year warranty with all of the machines. The only difference there is our EDU machines. We have 2 models, but the vast majority of machines have a 2-year warranty program for education. All of the education machines come with a no-charge simulator. So you go ahead and get that. So that's a training tool, and for any of you who have it today, have multiple simulators in your labs, and it works great. Tremendous networking capabilities through HTEC, and that's what we'll go into, and that's one of the big values and the differentiators between teaming with Haas and teaming with another CNC machine manufacturer. Pillars of value for Haas: high performance machines, legendary service. We call our service #1 in the industry. It's our most important element to a customer. Having a spindle that's not turning, it's downtime for you. Whether you're in a production shop or you're teaching kids, that machine's not working. We see that as #1. We track our first call completion and anyone who comes in on service on metrics. We're at about 95% for first call completion right now by using our DIY site, talking to the service, or calling the factory. We're here to support you. History of HTEC. So HTEC is started shortly after we started as a company 30 years ago. In about 1993, so 25 years back, we needed somewhere to be able to show our machines in a remote location where the commercial account couldn't drive all the way to the factory. So we picked a school, it was a Southern California school, that we had machines in their showroom, or we had showroom machines at the school, and they were able to use the machines, and we were able to show the machines to commercial accounts. The problem with it is that when the machine sold, we pulled the machine out of the school. So we left everybody flat-footed. We immediately saw the benefit of teaching students and how that was working for not only for the school and developing career paths for students, but also filling a void in the manufacturing sector relative to careers for kids and employees for business owners. So we developed the education sales program. That started actually in the mid-90s, and we came up with a deep discount program. We came up with some partners that worked along with us so that we could have support. We offered training directly out of the plant for instructors, application support, service support. We did everything right out of headquarters at that point in time. We've matured to a new level, and we'll go through that. So what is the HTEC network? HTEC is one thing, but the network is what really makes us different. The network itself, and I'll just read this, is an education and industry-led initiative that enables manufacturing technology educators and their schools to acquire and share information on latest technology, software, and education materials. What you'll find inside the network is that today, when you deal through standard administration in a school district, you'll get one story from industry. When you're inside the industry network with the HTEC, you're dealing directly yourself right with the industry. And got a couple of presenters after me that'll tell some stories about how that has worked out for them. HTEC members can contact, collaborate, share, and network with over 2,200 schools, colleges, and universities in the U.S. That's my number today. About 2 years ago, it was 1,800, so we're growing HTEC schools at a very rapid rate. HTEC members can contact and collaborate with dozens of industry partners, whether it's a tooling partner, it's a software partner, it's a work holding partner, it's a material supplier. We have relationships with all of these folks, and through the HTEC Partner Network, you are now able to be able to deal directly with those folks. couple of stats. We all like stats. Over 2,200 schools, as I noted, in the U.S. About 3,200, quickly coming up on 3,300 from a global perspective. 7,000 machines in the schools. Got 10,000 machines on a global perspective that are in schools that are supporting students and all part of the H-Tech network. Over 100,000 students have graduated through the H-Tech programs. 5 complete teacher training facilities in the U.S. I've had a chance to talk with a couple of you before the presentation, and thank you for that. But I've got teacher training programs from the East Coast to the West Coast. 5 of them, one up in the Bay Area, Mike Appio at De Anza College. Great program, and we'll go through some of that in just a little bit. We also offer some foundation support to be able to offset the fees for that program as well. Education starter package for all educators. So if you purchase a machine from Haas Automation today, we developed a package that goes along with that machine that's got 10 partners that all have skin in the game, primarily no charge product that will go with you or with the machine for you and for your program. That includes software packages, it includes textbooks, it includes online training, it includes tooling, the list goes on. So I've got 10 of those, and if anybody wants to talk to me about that after the presentation, please come up and see me. Additional H-Tech partners, the H-Tech Partner Program, as I noted, lots and lots of industry support, deep discounts for anybody that is inside the membership, the network. A little bit more information on the network. Complete collaboration with all educators in the network anytime you want. So in those 2,200 schools that are in the U.S., as you go into my H-Tech network website, and I'll share that with you, I had it up a little bit before, but I'll share that with you. You can contact any one of those schools in the program and have a conversation about challenges that you see, benefits that you've heard from their program, and you'll find that all of the teachers are very willing and open inside H-Tech. We do 40 regional conferences. So the regional conference is a regionally local territory. Northern California has a regional conference. Usually is in the fall. We had it at Sierra College just last November. We'll have a fall regional conference in Southern California as well. And I have those across the country. The regional conferences are teachers come in and we'll collaborate, sit down. I run a industry educator forum. Let me get to go through. So let's just talk about the regional conference just 1 minute. I just came up with a new format last year. The new format is I do an educator panel when we ask very simple questions like, what's the best part of your program? We scribe that down. What's your biggest challenge? So as you can see with what I did in the pie chart here is I've labeled out what some of those problems were. Funding, recruitment, not enough time, instructor shortage, lack of understanding of the industry. And as I compile this data, I can then address that in my H-Tech newsletters that come out once a month. I'm going to back up just for a minute. We don't miss any. We also offer the Haas Tips of the Day. I'm not sure if any of you have seen the tip of the day, but I want to run one more video. So Mark Terryberry, who's one of our applications technicians and engineers, he's kind of a rock star for us. He's our voice behind the tip of the day. So we'll just show a short snippet.
Hello and welcome to this Haas Tip of the Day. Now we know what this is. It's an ER column, and it seems like half of the rotating tools that we use in our mills and our live tooling lathes are being held in one of these columns. That makes these a critical part of our manufacturing process and something worth understanding. Now there are lots of moving parts in our ER column holders, and each one of those pieces can either make our tools cut better or worse, so stick around.
So we have 65 currently released tips of the day. Thank you. So what I did when I first got the job, and I know Mark very well, is Mark came to me and said, Chris, this is going to be great for education. And I said, yeah, I think so. Let me take a look at the library. And I quickly noted that if I was an instructor, I probably have less time than I have, and I have no time to search for things. And Mark, so I asked the question, how do you find the right one? And he said, well, they just search. They just go through a search. And that seemed to me to probably not be the best answer. So I went ahead and grabbed all of the tips of the day. At that point in time, there were 47 of them. And I put them into skill set. So I put entry level, intermediate, and advanced. Here's an example of what I did. Not sure if you can see this, but I can send this to all of you. It is a hyperlink over in the left-hand column where it says tip of the day title. I start off at the entry level. The very first one that I have is what is G code. I sequentially numbered them inside each skill set, number 1 through whatever I drew it up to. In the entry level, it was 15. So I want you to watch them 1 through 15. This is meant to be an aid and a support for your classroom. If you're teaching how to square a vice, you're teaching what is G code, teaching how to tap in inch, how to tap in metric. We have a tip of the day in all of that. I list out the reason why you'd view it, and then I also give you the length of the video. So if you know you only have an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes in your day, you can now fit the tip of the day video right into your program. This has gone over pretty well, works pretty well for the instructors that have seen it so far. Here's the teacher training program slide. So this lists the 5 schools that we have that are accredited teacher training program. We started with Doug Bowman at Vincennes University. Doug, that's in the southwest section of Indiana, a long way from California. Doug has a great program, but he came up with the idea of the consistency from school to school. So I've got 2 on the East Coast. That's Central Maine and Danville. De Anza right in Santa Clara, San Jose area. Orange Coast is Southern California. That's our brand new facility. Just only taught 1 class there so far. And then Vincennes was the flagship. Teacher training program offers a 3-day and a 6-day program. And the Gene Haas Foundation, and we'll go through a slide on that, but the Gene Haas Foundation will pay for the majority of your teaching experience going through that program. It's $1,350 for a 3-day, $2,700 for a 6-day, and the Gene Haas Foundation pays $1,000 and $2,200, I believe, respectively. So the majority of the teacher training is funded by Haas. Great way for you to get either a new instructor on board or yourself to go through the program. I guarantee you'll have conviction and commitment to teach on a Haas machine when you're done with the program. So as we know, it's all about the students. One of the things that I think we like to make certain is when the kids get through our programs that they're workforce ready. Haas Automation clearly believes this. We believe that teaching on a Haas machine will allow your students to be able to go out into the workplace, A, be workforce ready, and B, find shops that have Haas equipment in it. For those of you that don't know the Haas machine, our control, the keypad on the control, is identical on the mill to the lathe. So anyone that's trained on a Haas machine running a mill can in fact go over and cross-functionally work inside the lathe space as well, or the horizontal. Some minor key changes on the keypad, but other than that, the control's identical. Number 1 for things that work very well for those of us in the network is, again, as I noted, is the collaboration and corroboration with all of the network instructors. So that really works well for everyone. Number 2 is the sharing ideas with the industry partners and getting solutions from industry partners, and the fact that the industry partners are willing to work directly with you. Number 3 is the collaboration of educators, tools to increase the effectiveness of the teaching and the CTE experience. We found this to be very helpful relative to moving your program forward. And the last issue is, as I noted, is the 10 H-Tech partners inside my Education Starter Package. The need for skilled workers. This is a very interesting stat, and some of you may know it. We've all heard it. The data that I pulled it from was Deloitte as well as the Department of Labor. By 2025, we believe that there's going to be 3.5 million jobs needed in the manufacturing sector. The unfortunate part with what we have going today is 2 million of those jobs will go unfilled. So from a career perspective for your students, whether they go through a 2-year or 4-year college experience or they go directly into work, is that with learning on the Haas machine and working in manufacturing, we believe we can put people to work right away. The average wage in manufacturing is $80,000 a year. Of course, there's always overtime on top of that. So I can tell you, 1,200 people at Haas Automation, there's a lot of new cars in the parking lot, a lot of people doing the right thing relative to making money, and that's important to students as well. Here's manufacturing jobs by state as percentage of the entire workforce. California is 7.8% of our entire workforce works in manufacturing. The average across the U.S. is 10%. Some states are as high as 15 and 16%, the Midwest especially, and some states are sitting in that 9%. You see the Eastern Seaboard, lots of 9% there. So lots of manufacturing jobs. Here's a Deloitte report, a Manufacturing Institute report that I cited the data from. 3.5 million in bold up at the top of manufacturing jobs, 2 million jobs going unfilled. So certainly we know that the careers are out there. We just need to get the funding to be able to support the training for the students. Gene Haas Foundation. So Gene definitely believes in education and training. He's a college graduate himself. Actually, his degree is in accounting, but he's an engineer thick and thin, that's for sure. So Gene has put basically his money where his mouth is and supports the Gene Haas Foundation with about $12 million a year to support education. There is a Gene Haas Foundation website to learn more. Make certain and copy that down, please. You can go on and apply for grants, apply for scholarships, and or if you're going to go through the teacher training program. I'll hand my card out as well, so you can just contact me if I can support you from that perspective. But we certainly want to support your students through scholarships, whether they're going through a skills competition, a first robotics competition, there's scholarships needed to be able to pay tuitions. All of that is fair game in the discussions with Gene Haas Foundation. There's my contact information if you'd like to take a picture of that or write it down, or I'll give you my business card as well. And I'm 100% here to support you. So there's absolutely no problem in calling me, emailing me. I'll get right back to you. We have a pretty high sense of urgency at Haas to make certain that, in fact, the educators are supported. If there's any questions, I'd love to take them now. And if not, I'm going to bring up 2 local instructors that are part of the H-Tech network so they can tell you how the program has supported them, how Haas has supported them, and how maybe this could be a solution for all of you as you go forward. Either Dan Frank or Dan Simeon. Thank you.
How are you guys all doing? Good. Yeah, all right. Well, I like making chips. I like making things. That's kind of why I got into this. So I brought some stuff that my kids make, some of the intro stuff. Feel free to pass it around. It's through the H-Tech network, we've been able to really make some amazing partnerships and that have led to some really cool opportunities. Here recently, we were able to bring in the state director for education, and my kids machined some mold medallions for her, and also for one of our local assembly members. Could not have happened without relationships that we built through H-Tech. Some of the other stuff, if you were at the last conference, you saw Titan, and one of his employees, Jacob, who went through my program, graduated last year. And again, that relationship with Titan developed. I actually met him over in Maine at Central Maine Community College at one of the national H-Tech conferences. Again, these things don't happen without having a network like this. So there's some really cool and beautiful things that can help keep your program industry relevant because of the network and the opportunities that are there. One of the big things for me is having a network of people so I can go get professional development. I pick up the phone, I go on a Skype session, through the network, I have friends at Autodesk, I have friends, local machine shops that are making stuff, and then other teachers across the nation. So I can bounce ideas off of, hey, I'm seeing this, how are you structuring this? And that, for me, is the amazing part, being able to carry on those conversations, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's, texting back and forth. One of the fun parts is that same professional network has really been able to develop around my students as well. Just as a little background, we've been able to do 5-class mills and an ST10 lathe, so our kids have some nice equipment to work on. Our industry partners come in and they mentor the kids. And when our administrators come in and see this, they're always amazed and always commenting on how the industry partners can just jump right in and help solve the problem. It's the same equipment they have on their floors that we have in our shops. So the transition is so easy, not just for our students at the industry, but also for our industry partners to come in and help our students. So building that kind of network also for the students has been a surprise for me. It wasn't something I expected when I joined the H-Tech network about 5-6 years ago. And then one of the most fun things for me is some of these larger relationships. People like Kathy Lumen over at the Gene Haas Foundation. How many of you know Kathy? If you don't, you got to get to know her because she is absolutely amazing. She can point you in the right directions. She understands education and the industry inside and out. And she gets the fact, as Haas does, that this is about students. And there's a team of people here that are really, really excited to see what your students produce and to challenge your students and support you with whatever you need in order to help your students perform a little bit better. So that's a little bit about my story. Chris asked me to talk a little bit about what that means to me, what it provides. It's that access to peers and that access to current industry technologies and that validation that these are the current industry technologies and access to what is best practices. Because when you hide in your classroom all day long, it's really hard to learn those or keep up with some of those best practices as they change. Especially with automation, things are changing pretty quickly. And then, for me, that's kind of the basics. Do you guys have any questions or anything you want to know?
I got a quick question.
Yes, Chris.
So as Dan had pointed out,
the industry support, I think all of us get a little tainted over years, especially in our own personal lives, of trying to deal with industry and whether they're there for us, whether they really understand who we are. Dan, do you find that when you contact someone in an industry and explain that you are an H-Tech member, does that seem to add value to that discussion and you seem to get a better response or more timely response?
And that's a great question, Chris. The short answer is yes. Usually the conversation doesn't go, are you an H-Tech member, or hey, I'm an H-Tech member. It usually starts involving the tools and technologies we have out on the floor. So when I start talking about our VF2SS, or that we're adding a fifth axis trunnion to it, or these kinds of things, people stop and start to listen and go, oh, well, how did you get into that? How did you make that transition? Because high schools don't do a lot of this. And that's where, oh, we have this network behind us. And it's fun because a lot of our industry partners want to be a part of that network. They want to see students be successful and want to support students. Oftentimes they don't know how. And this network gives them that structure to be able to support your students, and so they can do it in a way that everybody values. Great question. Yes, sir.
Or you know about any certification programs? So once a student goes through all these trainings, if they have something to show for it?
That's a great question. You're going to hear about a certification program next. NIMS is the one that Haas is very familiar with. They are the kind of national standard right now. I will quietly say, if you were at Titans, you probably heard this too, but I know he is working on a certification through his Titans of CNC Academy. And again, that is also Haas supported, H-Tech supported as well. So it depends on exactly what you're looking for. I know the NIMS certification has some really strong industry backing behind it, and different regions value it differently. When I go to employers here on the West Coast, I'm finding less people familiar with it, and so I have to educate them. But if my peers in the Midwest and even some on the East Coast, they don't have to educate their partners on it. Oh, okay, they've got a level 1 cert, or they've got a CNC operator cert. Okay, that means they can pretty well do this. Okay. So, for us out here on the West Coast, we have a little bit of footwork to do with the certification piece, so it has industry value. Is that?
Yeah, that was great. And
Awesome.
I had one other question.
Yes, sir.
You guys considered it all VR type training, so that you don't have to have $50,000 worth of equipment sitting in your.
I have $1.2 million on the shop floor.
Well, two basic machines.
Yeah, no, exactly. So my answer is no. I'm actually pretty anti-VR on a personal level. There's so much that you need to be able to hear and feel, not just see,
Okay.
that it's absolutely critical. And so Danny Turner over here can talk about this on the welding side. Running a rod in a VR, yes, you learn the technique, but it doesn't mean you can go out to that pipeline and do it. So there's a big difference between the two technologies, and what I see on a student level with the VRs is, ooh, it's cool, it's a video game, not, oh, I see myself as doing this job. Any other questions? Because those are great questions. Yes, ma'am.
In your program, do you have any badging?
No, that's a really good question. And I go back and forth because I love the concept of badging. So the short answer is no. There is a longer two-piece answer to this, a little more nuanced. I have a really good friend who's a Marine recruiter, and he reminded me that they do challenge points. So every time you come back from a tour, you come back from a mission, and you get a little coin that commemorates the hard work you did. So we're actually working to do something similar. So they create their own challenge points that I have them pre-done. They have to make them, they have to earn them, and then make them. Longer version, the badging piece there, I have not found an automated system that goes into our LMS that does it in a way that doesn't increase my workload significantly. And I'm already busy enough with 14 jobs.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
So, it's sort of the elephant that's in the room when you're speaking with
educators and CNC equipment, but I think it's best that we talk about it. And that is the use of tabletop equipment versus CNC.
You want to be on my soapbox?
No, I actually don't. And I gotta tell you, I did set Dan up for this. I'm not sure his perspective on it. But I think there's some value in having the discussion of tabletop equipment, which is become pretty commonplace in a lot of schools, versus going and making the plunge into the industry standard CNC equipment.
Okay, you just opened up a whole can of worms there. So my take here, and I'm going to be candid, and There are a handful of decent tabletop machines. One that I really like that I would like to get for prototyping, because my shop is set up in 2 labs. I have my design lab on one side, a whole different classroom, and I have my manufacturing lab on the other side. I would love to get some pocket NC, the little 5-axis mills. They're about $6 grand when you get them set up. They look like they're wonderful. The people I know at Autodesk have highly recommended them, say they're pretty decent for what they are. You look at the fit and finish on them, it's obvious it's not a real piece of equipment. And that's where my issue lies with benchtop equipment. 10 years ago, I took over a program that had failed. And they had gotten rid of the teacher, moved him to the middle school. The drafting teacher that worked alongside of him had moved up to the college. And I got the involuntary transfer saying, you're going to do this. And I went, oh, God, yay. And they had little benchtop, the Intelitech, the Intelitech mills, 8-hour duty cycle between adjustments, and they cut wax. How exciting do you think that is for a kid? I mean, ooh, I got it to move. Well, I can do that from my phone to my little robot now that I got for $100, right? So there's something different when you get, the first time you crash a 3-inch face mill on a piece of aluminum, it gets exciting. The first time you crash a 1/4-inch bit on a piece of wax, you're like, okay, yeah, next. Let's melt it down and need wax. So that's my take on the benchtop equipment. It takes a whole lot of tuning and fussing with. It doesn't give you those transferable industry skills. You still have to relearn when you get out on the shop floor. And, I mean, honestly, you get what you pay for. Yes?
I would say you can always put a drive tractor on your phone, but making Jim Rumsey's tractor driving class just is more real.
I love it. Did you see the Facebook article? Sorry, I used to TA that class you just referenced years ago. Are there any other questions? Dan, come on up, by the way.
Any of your students getting any jobs?
There are more jobs out there than I have students. So about half of my student population, I think your larger question here is where do my students end up? About half of my students end up, and for me it's unfortunate, in the 4-year system. And I think that's a shame because to me it means we're pushing too many students, pushing them, not giving them opportunities, but pushing them in directions that may not be best fit. My program is targeted to meet the needs of the middle third of our student body. You know, we have the AP classes, we have athletics, we have all these awesome things that really serve that top third of our student body. We have all the supports in place that everybody has, and probably even a few more, for the bottom third of our population. And we forget about the people in the middle. We tighten the belt around, we say you have to do all this, and sometimes they're a little resistant. And that's where I try to serve that group. So I usually end up with 2 or 3 students a year out of about 30 or 40 that end up directly in industry. Placement is never an issue. Never an issue for them. And they usually are starting at $15 an hour. Within 9 months, they're close to 20. I have students that are 20 years old that are making over $30 an hour, making drones, and working part-time and going to college. The industry has the room for these people in it. And then we have the community college group, the other, 35% of my students that end up at community college, further training, and from the community college, they jump out into the industry, and they're generally, when their starting point's usually that 17 to 25 an hour.
And you've got a great age tag to go to for your community college students too, right?
Yes. So this is Dan Sunia. He is the godfather here, and if you don't know him, you got to get to know him because he's such an amazing resource.
Well, thank you, Dan. I'm going to plug this in, so Chris, can I pull yours down? I've got a little bit of a presentation here that I'll just run through. Perfect, thank you very much. Well, thank you. Thanks, Chris, for inviting me to talk a little bit about my program and how we've connected with HTEC over the years. It's been a number of years for us at Petaluma High School anyway. So again, my name is Dan Sunya, and I'm from Petaluma High School. And I'm the manufacturing technology teacher there, and been there for a number of years now. But we've been in HTEC since 2006, okay? So we've got some years that originally started with Bob Skidinsky, and Peter Zierhut was very much involved at the time, and Bob Murray, I think. And anyway, so been involved in a lot of different things that I think many of you might be involved in, Skills USA. That's one place where we do use tabletop machines. So we do have one for that purpose, for automated manufacturing competitions, which we do very well in. And we are a NIMS accredited high school. We were the first one in the state of California in 2010, and currently going through a reaccreditation process as we speak, and looking forward to on-site evaluation here, hopefully next month, if we can work that out. So, and then we're also an SME Prime site, so we do get to the benefit of that, and Tooling U, we're also involved with them a little bit. So, let me just give you a little bit of a background here. I'll just use this, I guess. Sure. Very good. Okay, so a little bit of background, I guess. I came to teaching in the year 2000 after a 31-year career working as a machinist. I went through a machinist apprenticeship pretty much out of high school. First machine shop I was ever in was as a freshman in high school. And I just never looked back. It just kind of worked for me. I really enjoyed that. Drafting and high school and machine shop just kind of worked. So I went through apprenticeship in a naval shipyard in San Francisco, and it closed. And I was a kid veteran, so I spent years for a number of years. And went up to Mare Island Naval Shipyard and spent 20 plus years there, and moved my way up as a training supervisor, planner, et cetera, general foreman. And unfortunately, Mare Island closed, otherwise I'd probably still be there. And ended up at McClellan Air Force Base, which is not too far from here, where I was a tool and die pattern shop supervisor. And retired out of there and was able to go to Sac State, and under a Bachelor of Vocational Education program, which is no longer there. And that's a real problem. It's a real problem, okay? So Mary and I have talked about that. A lot of us have talked about that over the years. So here I am out of industry, and I know Brett here is out of industry from Red Bluff High. So one issue that I keep on bringing to the table here is where are the teachers going to come from? Where's the teacher pipeline? It's non-existent in the state of California. Is it Fresno that has one? No, nobody. So it's industry. So whoever you're working with in industry, we have lots of contacts. They need to be reaching out to those people. Let them know, maybe there's somebody interested in giving back and teaching how to get involved, volunteering. It really is important. So I'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, how I transitioned in and out of education. So it's about our pathway, manufacturing and product development. That's really where I'm focused. And how Haas has just been such a partner in helping us do what we've done at Petaluma High School. All the different elements of it, graphic production technologies, machine and forming technologies, welding and materials joining, product innovation and design. All those things we are doing every day at our high school, which is an Tech and been for a number of years. And I'll get into some of those elements here in just a few minutes. So here's just a shot of, well, this was a brand new Tech VF2 in 2006. And we had well, let me just back up for a minute. I started my first teaching job at Petaluma High School my Petaluma High School machine shop was teaching apprentices, okay? I taught apprentice machinists in the evenings, the adult ed program. And I was running a machine shop locally there. And I did that for about 3 years and started getting involved in machinist apprenticeship training in the North Bay area. And we just, I was recruiting apprentices and training apprentices, and hey, this shop had half a dozen old South Bend flat belt rig lathes and a bunch of old feet of equipment. Well, working with industry, we started bringing some new stuff in, and we kind of built it up, and so we're training apprentices, like I say. And although in 2003, I became the high school teacher, and the teacher retired, and I took that program over. And the superintendent asked me, he said, look, the city of Petaluma has a redevelopment project they want to do. And they have this product that they want. They want to make street furnishings. Like,
There you go.
I want one, but they want us to make some benches. Okay? They want us to make benches. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can make benches. Gosh, I didn't know about high school kids.
I still don't know about high school.
Yeah. That was a whole new world for me, right? Okay? So, anyway, so there was benches, and we were making bike bollards, and just all kinds of different products. So, over the years, we did $500,000 worth of business for the city of Petaluma. If you're familiar with Petaluma, these benches are on every downtown street. There's numerous benches, there's hundreds of them. And there's bike bollards. Every bench has got our logo on it. It says Petaluma High School, manufactured by Petaluma High School in the year that it was manufactured. And so there's all over town. So, and the kids that made these benches go back downtown and they can sit on and say, hey, I made that in high school. So it's really, really pretty cool. They really do, they really got into once we got into production, kids could make these in one school day. In 3 classes, in 3 periods, or a block schedule. They could make these things in one day. They just flat came in and went to work. It's a different generation these days. So, at any rate, so we did all the engraving. Most of these were all handmade pretty much. There was some radius that were done on the CNC machines, but basically most of them were, it was hand fabricated and handmade on the manual machines. The CNC machines were very new to us. This young man here spent 4 years with me in high school, spent 4 years with me in the machinist apprenticeship program, worked a number of years in a local shop, and I know now he's working in San Francisco, and he's making well over $80,000 a year as a machinist. So doing really, really well. So, and the brand, our H-Tech, I should say, is a VF2. We have a 2-room mill, 2-room lathe. You can't see it, but there's an SL20 with this product, with this project, the high school, our downtown project was able to buy a 2-room lathe and a 2-room mill. And then because we were working with the apprenticeship program, and the downtown project is, community project, community-based project, Haas said, hey, are we going to trust you a VF2 and an SF20? So that was huge. That really made the difference and really modernized the shop. So we, all of a sudden, we're training our machinist apprentices and on the new CNC machines. And a lot of these guys, these apprentices here actually work for a company called GCX and make medical mounting hardware fixtures. These guys, I was in their shop just last week. This was taken in probably 2010, I think, 8 or 10. And they're still there, and they're just doing outstanding. They run Haas machines every day. They have nothing but a Haas shop, and they're just doing fantastic. So between the apprentice program and the program that we had going in high school was all around these Haas machines, and really made the difference in our program and the visibility that it provided to the community, and it attracted students and manufacturing. The connections that we made with our manufacturers, local manufacturers, was huge. I get contacts regularly with, I need people, I need kids, I need a shop rat, I need just a kid to come in and do cleanup, whatever. So we're really well connected there. I left, little background, I left in 2014 to go full-time with the apprentice program. And then started working with that for a couple of years, and one summer, in 2016, the principal called me and said, hey, our plan was to move the apprentice program from the high school to the community college, San Francisco Junior College. And he wanted to know about moving the machines and et cetera. I got into the shop, and I hadn't been in a while. I took a look, and he's in bad shape. The teacher that they had hired, who really wasn't a machinist, was not qualified at all. This shop was trash. It was just flat trash. And so I decided to go back and teaching part-time and to rebuild the program. And it took me a year and a half to strip it out. And it's finally functioning. We got back to where we can, we went through the NIMS reaccreditation process, which is a lot of work, but I think well worth it. One thing I didn't mention is all those apprentices that I showed you, every single one of them to graduate that 4-year apprenticeship had to earn, required to earn 4 NIMS credentials. Absolute requirement. Every single one of them. And I had to proctor all those examinations. So, anyway, so when I came back, I decided, okay, we're just going to straighten this place out. The deal was, I'll fix it, and I'll find somebody to replace me that would take some ownership. So, my message here today is, hey, if you know somebody who'd like to come around Petaluma, take on a really nice job with some really good kids, give me a call. So, anyway, this turned out to be a really fun project. When I came back, we were doing benches for a lot of years, and I really didn't want to get back into the same product. Well, this fella, his name is Stephen Koza, and he's a professional cyclist there in town. Started a nonprofit called Race for Kids, and he had this idea, he wanted to make bunny benches for elementary school kids, to where they could, playground, they could just kind of, they didn't have a friend at lunchtime or recess or whatever. they could go just sit on it and somebody would come around and, you know, they'd have a friend for lunchtime or whatever. And, you know how kids are, little kids, they just go off and do whatever on the playground. So we're making these buddy benches for all the elementary schools in town. This was our prototype. And this was the original sketch that we come up with, just the design, and did all the drawings in collaboration with our CAD class, and developed that bench. Every part on that bench comes off the VF2 and the TM1. So imagine all the programming that we had to do, the tooling and the fixturing that had to be developed, and all the things that the students had the opportunity to learn. Now, this is my advanced class, obviously, that was really involved in this. I have a beginning class that is a pretty interesting class. It's a Introduction to Manufacturing and Design. It's actually a modified project lead the way class where students rotate between the CAD lab and the manufacturing lab. They'll spend, they rotate, they'll spend 12 classes in the CAD lab, and then there's 2 sections, and they rotate back and forth. So they're going from the applied, the design side to the applied. And so we're really seeing a difference to where, you know, you can draw something on a computer, and it's a perfect world, right? It's just perfect. You know, you take that 1-inch cube or whatever, and you can shrink it down, and you can blow it up as big as you want. Twirl it all around, do whatever you want with it. But when you stand in front of a machine, manual, CNC, whatever, and you have to make a 1-inch cube to a tolerance, that's a whole different world. So these kids are starting to learn that. So I think it's really, really working out well for us at Petaluma, exposing these kids to. So I'm getting a whole different level of kids, the more academic, and so I'll start seeing some repeat customers that are excited about additive manufacturing and learning more about really getting on these machines, and they're seeing some of the things that we're doing. So that's my program there. So we're actually doing manufacturing and product development, okay, from start to finished product. This was just some prototyping that we've done. We're doing this all on Fusion 360. Anybody here using Fusion 360? How do you like it?
Love it. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's a learning curve though, isn't it? It was for me. When I left, I was using a Mastercam. That's all I used, Inventor and Mastercam. I went away for it for a couple of years. And it had changed so much, it was like, oh, I had to learn something new. Anyway, I had to relearn it. So I got introduced to Fusion 360. I went to a Autodesk conference in San Francisco, Pier 9, and at their place down there. And it was pretty cool. So I taught myself, and the kids got teaching me. They picked it up so fast. So anyway, so we did our first parts and stuff with it. So it really worked out pretty well. So on the VF2, that was our first buddy that we did, and then those benches are all 4 feet long. I don't have any table travel 4 feet long, so everything has to be indexed. Everything has to be timed. But we ended up, it's a gang vice. We ended up making a fixture where everything was pinned, and we have to rotate everything, and so that really worked out. There's a lot of problem solving that goes along here. Lots and lots of problem solving that goes along with this product that we're doing. Here's just a couple of pictures of the bench in process. This tool that we had to design is a forming tool. This is hard to see maybe, but this center brace was pretty difficult to form. We played around with a little bit to see one down here, but so we really had to build a tool that this tool forms about every bend on this bench, the seat frames and the mounting angles down here at the base where it's mounted, and it does everything. So that's all programmed, and there's a Fusion screenshot of the part that we designed, and this was all done with students' help and involvement, and they really learned a lot. We learned a lot. So teaching students CAD/CAM, there's a lot to it. So it's like we were saying earlier, it's the hands-on. I mean, you can teach it, you know, in the lab and on a simulator, but there's nothing like standing there in front of that machine and making chips. So I just take small groups of students and do a setup and walk them through. I'm very fortunate. I have a couple of volunteers that are my class. You got a class of 20, 24 kids, and varying grades, from sophomore to senior, and you know, you really have to focus on this. I've got kids doing all kinds of different tasks and projects and required projects that they have to do. So,
Hey, Dan, can I ask a question real quick?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Do you go to freshman?
I have a freshman class, yes,
It's a separate class.
separate class.
What's your class load? How many per class?
Well, the principal tries to stuff 30 in there. Oh, so 24 is my max.
Ideally, what would you like to have?
20.
What is your material costs per person so that you have?
I'm pretty fortunate. I get a lot of material donated. I get a lot of tooling, cutting tools that are donated.
Where's that slide?
That's the phone director right there. Yeah. So, yeah. I didn't mention it, but that bench, those benches, that nonprofit that puts those together, Race for Kids, he buys all the material and pays for that paint job. Okay, the paint job is $300 for powder coating. And materials about $100, and then, you know, consumable supplies, everything's paid for. I end up with a little bit of profit on each bench as well. We can make one about every 2 weeks. Right now, we're really focused on NIMS accreditation. I've got kids that are earning credentials. I've got kids I'm preparing for accredited exam for Central Junior College first class. So there's a lot of things going on. Yes?
Did you say you were on block scheduling?
Yes.
How long are your blocks?
100 minutes. 100-minute classes. So I have time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have a 50-minute class or whatever where they're in and out the door. So I really do have time to work with. And the other thing that's really important about my situation is I have a machinist, a retired machinist, guy that I used to work with in Merrill Island, that went through the machinist apprenticeship in the shipyard, that helps me. It's a volunteer. So I can have him working with a kid on an IMS project, or just working with, you know, teaching how to use a telescope gauge, or indicator icing, or just some of the fundamentals. And I can be working with a group on the CNC machines, or all the other things that have to go along with what we're doing, our product. And keep it safe. Yes?
You've been discussing putting them through internships.
Apprenticeships.
We have lots of trouble with industry because they want the kids there, we want to send the kids there, but they say that they have to be 18 years old in order to do that. There's no other way around that you found?
Not really. Larger companies, want 18-year-olds. Some smaller shops will take the kid that's 16 or 17. Dan, you have something?
My district finally went through their legal counsel and put together a liability insurance for paid and unpaid internships. It's through our district. They found a strategy that works within the systems that we have. So we can at least offer that liability insurance, which is usually that piece for the 18, to get under 18 on the shop floor. That's new this year.
That's awesome information, Dan. Can we get that?
There's also, if you go to South Bay Workforce Investment Board, they have been working with the Department of Labor to create a step around. So what they're doing is they're working through a hiring agency that has the liability insurance, and the students are being hired through the hiring agency, and the Department of Labor has said that is okay to do as well. So South Bay Workforce Investment Board, you can get that information for them.
And what's the age? They can be under 18?
Under 18. This is specifically for high school.
Okay.
South
It is
Bay
all
Workforce.
about the insurance. It is all about the insurance.
Yeah.
So
It's about
that's
the insurance.
16 to 18 in that range.
Okay.
Usually they have to be able to drive themselves to work.
Yeah.
Right, right,
My employers frown when they bicycle in, especially in the rain.
right. Bicycle or skateboards or.
When do they have to pick them up?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
from our perspective, it's really, really critical that we get kids into a pathway when they are 16, because 18 is too late.
Yes, 100%.
And it has been this huge problem, and we have been unable to deal with it.
And our industry partners want it,
Yes,
but they can't afford that liability
Sure.
insurance.
Our industry partner said it would cost them $4,000 per student.
Wow.
For insurance.
Okay,
And that's depending on the
right. And your district is,
Our district found a way to maneuver through the system that the legal counsel feels safe that is defensible.
okay, so it's like they were a student, they were in school.
Yeah,
Just like they were in school.
yes.
Because it's not going to be paid internship.
Right.
It's going to be with credit.
My district actually does paid internships too now, is what they're saying.
Really?
Yes, that they found a legal way to do it.
Okay. Very good news, thank you. That's really important. Anyway, so just all the different things about setting that machine up and referencing it, touching off, and just learning all the details. So these guys and gals are really getting some hands-on experience with these Haas machines, and that's extremely valuable because I can put them in an apprenticeship program. I own every machine shop in the Bay Area, and I can plug them in where they fit best, if they want to, or the JC, the junior college, or community college of their choice. I highly recommend Laney College or Ganza College because they're both NIMS accredited schools. And I'll send them there with NIMS credentials, so they'll be at the end of the class as far as that goes. And then we always get it with Fusion 360. I always find myself editing the heck out of the programs. I'm always tweaking it. So we have a good time doing that. I don't know if it's just me or I just haven't got into that.
What kind of tweets?
Oh, speeds and deeds mostly. Speeds and deeds. Yeah, that's mostly what I do.
Word process too sometimes. It's nice.
Exactly, yeah. Or if I'm on a, have the program stop in because we have to rotate a part around or something like that. It's simple things like that. It's really good teaching moments, programs, those kind of things for kids. So, here's one shot where it's hard to see, but we've got our tooling built here that allows us to index. But these are 3 of my students here. Notice this kid with a broom in his hand. That's a win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Even if he's leaning on it, he's still got a broom in his hand.
17-year-old with a broom in his hand, wow. He's actually a third-year student. He's got a part-time job in a machine shop right after school. And he's working on his second NIMS credential. All four of these guys have NIMS credentials. The TM1 is running, the VF2 behind them is running, and they're making benchmarks. And this just winds it up. We have to weld those are all rivets that are put in there and welded in, and it gets welded together and sent off and detailed and sent off to paint. So our product gets finished, and we got several benches here. It's hard to see, but we have several different kinds of benches that we made over the years too. That's called a chicken bench. Pedalling was kind of a chicken thing. So that was a memorial bench. And there's a couple of them back there that are in production. And that's most of my class, not all of it, in front of our shop. And thank you, Haas Network.
Dan,
Yes.
can you share a little bit about how you, what it took for you to work to be a NIMS certified teacher?
Yeah. Well, first, to be a NIMS certified teacher, you need to earn at least, well, I'm a level 1 certification. So the teacher must earn the 4 credentials. And in my case, it's measurement materials and safety, job planning, benchwork and layout, manual milling, and manual turning. So the teacher has to earn all those credentials, number 1. Yeah. So that takes a little time. As you're doing that, you need to have an advisory committee. I have an extremely strong advisory committee that are just way behind me. We sit down pretty regular. There was a gap when I left. There was a big hole. But they're back, and we'll sit down with the district administration and lean on them. It takes a lot of work
It's a lot
there.
of collaboration. And
Yeah.
conversation.
And we've developed a 5-year plan, which includes finding somebody to replace me, and building a program. We've got a Haas mini mill on order, which I hope to have in place this month. And there's just a lot of work. The shop needs to meet OSHA standards. Everything has to be, training plan needs to be in place. There's lots of documentation of the evaluator, the on-site evaluation. Right. And the initial evaluation is a lot of work.
It's the initial evaluation about the list is what we're going to learn about as well.
Right, yeah.
So she's saying-
Catherine will probably talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was on the team that accredited Deanne's college.
Oh, you were?
I was. That was in 2015, I think. Yeah, so I'm both sides now. But yeah, that initial accreditation is a lot of work. A lot of documentation that goes behind it, but it really helps you focus on the requirements and the needs, and looking into really how you really serve the population and really develop the next generation.
What are the education, with all of the industry experience that you brought to the classroom, how did that NIMS preparation help you in the classroom?
It gave me some teaching tools. It gave me some methodology. I just bought the new textbook. Super outstanding. It just gave me the curriculum guideline, the structure that helped me as a teacher teach NIMS and teach the fundamentals of manufacturing. So it's really key. I think NIMS is key. And all my board agrees with this, my advisors agree with this, and I sell this to the administration all the time, and any employers that I talk to. It allows me to teach the fundamentals. And then I can grow them into the world of automation, CNC, okay? Without having the fundamentals, yeah, you can just take somebody off the street and show them how to make them an operator, right? If they have some good work ethic, good skills, and they'll learn. But those apprentices I showed you that were, well, running that Haas machine or in that Haas machine, they run a Haas machine every day. They were running one every day. But when they came into my shop at the high school, I wouldn't let them touch that machine. I put them on the manual machines because I wanted to run those cranks. So they developed those kind of skills as well, the manual kind of skills. And they did the NIMS project, the manual mill, the manual lathe. And boy, they learned a lot about cutting tool geometry, just basic fundamentals. And right now, those people that I showed you are being recruited by other companies all around the Bay Area. They're being offered $45, $50 an hour. Because they can sit right alongside their machine and program. The boss will come out with a hand sketch and say, hey, we got a customer that has this monitor or this medical device or instrument, and develop a way to hold it. He'll sit down and draw it up and engineer it and program it and make it.
So what I'm hearing you saying is there are different levels of technical skill attainment depending on the foundation that's provided to the students.
Yes. And NIMS provides a really excellent foundation, is what I'm saying. It's a really good foundation.
Thank you.
For those skills, for machinist grade. And it's just machinist, tool and die maker, mold maker, engineer. Some of the best engineers I've ever worked with, have had machining experience. So,
Thank you.
love to get our engineers in their shops.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes.
What's the socioeconomics of your school? What's the socioeconomics of your school?
I'd say it's upper middle class for the most part.
I visited quite a few schools that have programs, there's one in my community, that have the CNC opportunities and tracks that are available. And a lot of them are really geared towards engineering, so they're usually in more affluent schools or neighborhoods. How do you provide the same opportunity for, let's say, a community like or from Sacramento, around Sacramento, I live in Sacramento,
Yeah.
like in South Sacramento, where it's a really poor community?
Yeah, you just have to have the facility and that, and pull them in there. So that, it's getting the facility. If you have a shop, you have an HTAG.
No, I just mean like, how do you provide those opportunities for you?
Oh,
You
for
visit
jobs.
JFK. That's just my community. That's just unaffluent school.
Dan, Frank, Dan, can you tell them about Rob's shop?
Well, you just mentioned JFK, and it sounds like you already know Rob Green over there. He does a pretty good job. Actually, a very good job.
But what I mean is that that's still an affluent neighborhood. I mean, it's the Greenhaven pocket area.
Right.
So the thing is that when you look at manufacturing, you look at industry as a whole, a lot of it is highly pushed towards machining, which usually is a person who we're really trying to push them to become programmers or product designers, but there's also still all the support of people that are in those industries that ship the raw material, cut the raw material. All that is also a part of it.
Right.
So in order to bring those opportunities to certain communities that don't either have grant writers or don't have the budget to purchase equipment that is, if you look at a mill, let's say DF3,
Right.
and you look at about $100,000 to put that on the floor, and it's,
Right.
so, at the end of the day, how do you provide those opportunities for other communities so you can get more people that traditionally don't go to college? If you look at those communities, most of their graduates do not go to college, or you go into the workforce. So they would be a really good workful of people that we can utilize.
Absolutely, you want to get them into those programs where you can provide the skill training to get them employed.
So, am I hearing kind of a sidebar to this question of being, how do you start a program from scratch? Is that kind of a corollary with this, or?
No, I guess, I come from industry. So when you look at the workforce that's available, there's a huge population of youth that are in public schools that would have a desire to be interested in going into skilled labor. But the programming that exists, there really isn't a whole lot of programming in schools, and the schools that do have programming are like Rockland High School, Kennedy High School, the more affluent schools that have CNC departments, that heavily push in robotics. So what happens is that when you look at those schools that have the means or the ability to do that, how do we get the same ability into schools that don't have the budgets or the resources available?
Yeah. Yes, I think I've taught at the same school for 30 years, at-risk alternative ed students, and I've waited 30 years for the turnaround, and it's finally happening, where the district is going, we have to meet the needs of these students, otherwise they'll find out ways to be creative outside in the community. We don't want that. We want to give them real serious opportunities that mean something. And in the last 3 years or so, you can see a huge shift in motivation and ability when you reach them and tell them, here's an opportunity that you didn't even dream of that's available for you right now. Patience is, but patience kind of runs out after a while. But we have to, I agree with you, we have to meet their needs too.
So can I add something to that? Maybe one of the things that you're talking about where the schools don't have the equipment and their focus is on robotics is there are a number of programs that use a canned program called Project Lead the Way. And Project Lead the Way can be used by anyone because it's a canned curriculum, which means that it can be used by a science teacher, by a math teacher, by any of those teachers to be able to say they have the program, but the program is missing is the opportunity to provide the skill set that you're talking about and that all these other teachers are talking
Correct.
about.
So when he talked about
Yes.
the students, he's talking about there are students who are ready to go.
Yes, yes.
When you think of CTE and the big push that we have now, industry is highly reliant on CTE to solve its society problem.
Right.
And the reality is the schools really can't fix it. But at the end of the day, we're really counting students that can go from high school into a skilled labor job that makes you good money. But if that path doesn't exist, and it only exists like in schools that do have the resources, then we're in a sense setting up these students to fail because they do graduate and those jobs are not available to them because they haven't been exposed to
The full
the
skill
CNC, they haven't
development.
been exposed
Yes.
to the whole world of manufacturing.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is students that have the ability to measure the basic fundamental jobs in a shop environment, industrial environment, that have a work ethic, show up on time, that can be productive, that can follow directions, can work as a team, can work with other people, just those kind of skills that you can take and work with, somebody that you can work with as an employer and grow and satisfy your needs.
So one of the most hopeful things I can share with you is I am having conversations with Haas, Project Lead the Way, Titan, and Autodesk, because it is necessary for Project Lead the Way to integrate actual skill attainment in their curriculum. Project Lead the Way it exists at the moment, is really a STEM program, and it's a fantastic engineering, pre-engineering college prep program. But the tactile skills and the marketable skills that our industries are looking for, they're not able to provide with that CAN program alone. So I am having the conversation with Haas, with Project Lead the Way, with Titan, CNC, and with Autodesk to take a look at how could we expand and integrate the actual skill attainment piece into the Project Lead the Way curriculum to create a parallel career pathway that's actually CTE. Because right now it is just pre-engineering, college prep engineering. So they have a few little robotics projects. And the robotic skills are highly valued by a number of companies, you know, but we are trying to do that because that is necessary for every part of California.
From your standpoint of like the socioeconomic, I mean, I consider myself extremely privileged in Gulf California. We've got a commitment to our CTE program that's just beyond all belief, even from our district. Is there a whole lot of money?
Where do you work?
Red Bluff High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty low SES.
Yeah, in fact, I just got some recent numbers. 18 to 24-year-olds in our county are in the range of 24 to 27% unemployment because they don't count as unemployed. They've never had a job. They didn't get a job in high school. They didn't go on to college. They're not enrolled in classes, and they're sitting there with nothing to do. We have CTE programs. We're trying to get them skills, but we have no industry. We've got the agricultural industry, and notoriously the agricultural industry from the standpoint of you go to the other side, the ranching portion of it, which is huge in our area, they don't want to see business come in because it's tax structure that causes increase. So you've got people running our county that don't want this stuff around them, but they don't have enough jobs to supply the people that we have in our county. And in turn, we keep a very low class of struggling people, not low class, but low level, low income, struggling people, just keeping them down because the landowners and stuff have what they want and the city doesn't understand how to come up from that. We've got some things going on in our area to help that. People like Titan, H-Tech, those companies, those organizations are out there pushing to overcome that. But in your area, you don't have that thing. It's really creating the interest. The other thing is think about also marrying it with an entrepreneurship program. If you produce one machinist a year that can go out and start his own shop with a loan for a couple of Haas machines, you may have just increased your area's capability to hire 3 to 4 people that day.
Dan, tell us about your students.
Yeah, I've got a couple of students. It seems like I'm starting to get that. So it's one every year, one every 2 years, something like that. Pete, one of my graduates, makes support rods for Mustang race cars and other mods for that race industry, that specialized niche. He's hired his second full-time employee here recently. He just turned 21, never went to college. And literally his first Haas machine was essentially the price of a nice car. Not a great car, but a nice car. And our HFO, I'll be honest, really helped him out. And they bent over backwards to make sure that he had what he needed to start. And that was really cool that there's that kind of industry support for a young kid, 18 years old, unproven. Another student, Brody, does high-end speakers for Tesla cars. So you want to mod out your Tesla, you want to, get a much better sound system. And he does all the speakers and enclosures. They've engineered them in-house. And he and his partner are in the process of hiring their first employee, but he's 6 months into this. He's 22 years old, 6 months into the full-time business piece of this. He's turning a profit and hiring a person and having money to do R&D for the next generation of product that they want to do to expand beyond just Tesla.
So there are multiple models that I'm learning about from the teachers because of where they're located. So the issue you raise is it's actually prevalent all across California because from north to south there are population subgroups that face the challenges you're talking about. So if we can have the folks who are willing and who are strong investors in education collaborate with our school districts, with our school teachers, then it creates numerous opportunities for your students, for the students who live in those areas. So we are trying to do as much as we can to make some of those connections, to make it happen, so the students will benefit from the skills that they're graduating with. But it is a tough road. It is a tough road.
Yeah, chance to talk to me. I have some lower cost options for robotics programs for kids that you can do. It's not industry standard. It doesn't get you out there, necessarily employed right away, but they can be doing personal stuff at a level up there with the big first robotics projects at the cost of an RC car.
So lots of options. Thank you for asking the question.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna take maybe a 10-minute break. And then we're gonna move into our next speaker. And thank you for all the questions and all that. Feel free to go back to the exhibit if you had any questions or you wanted to see anybody else that's in the mini expo. I know that we had CTE online there, a representative from, if none of you are familiar with that, she would be a great person to speak to. We also have Flying Education, Switch Vehicle, which I know is an EV vehicle, he's here again. National Geographic is here again. And a new person that came is apprenticeships, internships and apprenticeships, working with the California Education Department. She's over there.
Well, she's the Department of Apprenticeship. She's not really part of education, but
no,
she works.
Department of Industrial Relations.
There you go.
Right,
Thank
right,
you.
there we go. Anyways, she is there, and just kind of chat with her what they're all about too, because they're apprenticeships and internships. And usually she goes to the colleges, so it would be a good thing to know how it works with the high school student. Okay. And the other thing is, if you did not sign up for a raffle ticket or get one, you have a really good chance
I wanted to
of
do
getting
3 in between on this break.
Yeah.
We'll do 3 at lunch and 3 this afternoon. So
Right.
turn it in and give it to me.
Yes.
Good prizes.
And
Anybody?
just in closing too, I just want to thank everybody for listening to the Haas story and the H-Tech story. I think you heard from both Dan Frank and Dan Sudi as well. We really are here to support every opportunity out there. With 2,200 H-Techs across the nation, we have local, we have in California. We see a lot of different scenarios from socioeconomic perspectives, as well as job placement perspectives, as well as troubled kids perspectives. So we've got a lot of solutions, I think, on the table that can support you. This is all I do. So really here with passion. I'll leave my business cards right up here. So please come see me, grab a card, and we're here to help.
And we'd like to thank